Recently, I've been focusing on embracing my Chinese roots. So I did this in the way I knew how, by eating. Because, who doesn't like food? It's food. One dish I tried that some of you may know about, hot pot, really stood out to me. I recommend trying it in a group because it's quite large, and trust me, I learned the hard way. Hot pot is essentially a soup base in which you add different ingredients and side dishes, such as meats and vegetables, coinciding into this amazing final product. Each ingredient blends into something new, but without knowing the specific items and what they're made of, you won't know how each contributes to the final pot. You have to understand every ingredient before knowing what the final product can be. I am a part of America's melting pot. I'm a first-generation Chinese American. Now, this may shock you because a lot of people think of the first generation as their grandparents who came to the US for a better life. Clearly, I'm not a grandma, but I did come for a better life as a child. However, I didn't come with my biological mother. I'm an adopted child, and I came to America with my mom in 2009. We're not exactly sure where, but I was born somewhere around Fuzhou in southeastern China. At 21 months old, I came home for the first time. For me, my family means a lot. My mom is 100% Western European, and my dad is 50% Polish and 50% Belarusian, making my sister a combination of them. I am 100% Chinese. So when somebody sees my family, the only connection they make is between me and my mom. We're both pretty petite, but other than that, I don't look anything like the rest of my family. Nonetheless, our house is full of love, and a home is a home, no matter the composition of it. But I guess that's not how people see my family. The love may be clear in our eyes, but how people visually perceive us will always come first. I don't look the same. I'm the elephant in the room. Growing up, my parents really did try to give me an authentic Chinese experience. Because I was already 21 months old, I could speak a Chinese language, more specifically a language called Gan. My parents hoped I would keep the Chinese language I knew along with learning English. Unfortunately, I went far off that path and quickly lost my fluency. My parents tried to ensure that I kept the important parts of my culture. They hired a Chinese nanny who they thought was speaking to me in Gan, except I never spoke back. They celebrated Lunar New Year and played me Chinese videos, but it seemed that the older I got, the more I rejected my Chinese culture. And even when my parents sent me to Chinese school, I felt so out of place while being surrounded by people who look like me. Feeling different in an environment where you're all supposed to be the same, I lost more and more of my Asian identity. Throughout middle school, I surrounded myself with kids who looked like me, but I always felt like I didn't fit in. Not because of how we looked, but the differences in our family dynamics. In response to this dilemma, I modeled the way they lived their lives in hopes of fitting in. I didn't want to be that different kid. This resulted in me forcing myself to follow what is called the model minority standard of Asians. In simpler terms, the Asian stereotype. The main ideas are that Asian children should be smart, focused on becoming a doctor. Straight A's are all you'll see on a report card. Ivy League is the only league. And you have to play violin and piano. Now I realize that I placed the model minority standard onto myself. I followed the stereotype. I feared that any noticeable difference, that if I didn't get an A, if I didn't limit my freedom to match my friends, I would be exiled back into this place of loneliness and feeling misunderstood. I didn't want to be American. I couldn't be American. I could only be Asian. I could only be perfect. Now I'm in high school and I look back. The idea of others' opinions of me matter less because I know my identities are worth it to myself, worth it to my family. To start appreciating my culture more, I changed my lock screen in the morning to this little girl who stares up at the world with innocence. This little girl is me. And if I could ever go back and talk to her, I would say, you can be two things. You can be Asian, and you can be American. You can be both. Originally, I was really confused about the meaning and the process of combining cultures because I hadn't needed to acknowledge it until now. But I've grown to accept the idea through the concept of 1 + 2 = 3. The individual ones are important, but they also combine into making something unique. As a toddler, I got so caught up in the American side that I forgot my Chinese roots. And in middle school, I drained my focus on the Asian side and pretended not to have an American culture. But now I'm focusing on the combination of both. The idea of Asian plus American being brought together creates a hyphenated identity factor of Asian American. I consider these 3 different identity factors that all make up my culture and me as a person. To dig deeper, I developed my way of learning culture into something positive rather than negative. When I forced myself to follow the model minority standard rule for rule, I got so caught up in being perfect that I forgot the reason I was doing this was to help myself understand my culture. Now I choose to live my Asian American identity in the way I see fit, by incorporating culture into my life, not making my life the culture. No matter what culture you associate with, this idea applies to all people. Everyone is made up of a combination of identity factors. And sometimes we find certain identity factors shining brighter, which is commonly the label society will give you. But this label doesn't define you, nor mean that you are one-dimensional. Instead, you are who you want to be. And that's something you can define at your own pace. And once you know yourself, what other people think of you loses importance. That's the strength provided by having a variety of identity factors that ultimately combine into making something unique. This is the hot pot of life, and you have to let yourself discover all the ingredients before the soup is finished. Thank you.